Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. And as we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention, as always, as being a welcoming space. A welcoming space open to everyone, regardless of background, identity, orientation, belief system, ethnicity, all the things that we might passionately identify with on the surface. Let us seek for more unified, communal identity at heart. Hello, dear Chloe. Welcome. You are very early. I trust that my guests who are joining now are feeling as well as they can. And if not, that's okay. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Let us come together as fellow spiritual seekers to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. Michael, you are sharing I don't have sounds. Is that true for everyone else? Well, I guess if you can't hear me, then you can't hear me. But it looks like there's sounds coming on my end. It must be your phone then. Alright, welcome everyone. As I said, check in with yourself. I hope that you are feeling as good as you can be. And if there's any adjustments to your mood, it's something that I think we forget sometimes, that we can always make adjustments to our mood. How are you feeling right now, and how do you want to feel? And hello, Mangin. Thank you for your rose. Radhe Radhe. Hello, grateful human. Hello, dear Don Suela. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. It's nice to see you too. And thank you, grateful human, for sending a tiny. Yippee! You can hear me now, Michael? Oh, good. Glad those technical difficulties were fixed. And oh my goodness. Thank you, Mangan, for blessing us with such a selfless gift so early on. It is not every day that I get a galaxy. And although I'm very happy to be a part of this whole galaxy with you, I'm also very grateful for such a generous donation. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing your blessings, Mangam. Hello, Papa Bear. Hello, everybody. Today I'd like to start off my live with a question of the day. I'm wondering from you today, how do we grieve? There's a lot of people that are going through grief. Maybe we can take a piece of advice and leave a piece of advice. What works for you? Chris, you share that you cry it out. It's an honest method. It's true. Man, it really feels good after a good few tears. It's funny. You could be feeling so low, and then after you cry your eyes out, cry your heart out, suddenly things feel a little brighter. Michael, you share that your form of grief is rage and destroying stuff. Well, I hope not anything that's important to you or someone else. But yeah, rage rooms do exist for a reason. Jade, you share you sleep. Sleeping is nice. Yeah, it helps the body process. Bebort, thank you for your tiny too. Yippee! Freda, you share that you're grieving over bad health. Well, I hope this segment is helpful for you then. Jack Allison, you share by looking for the positives and being grateful. And Quilipot, you ask a relevant question: how do I get over a lover leaving? We can certainly talk about that, and I hope that some of the answers in the meantime can help you. Papa Bear, you share that you grieve with tears as you remember and cherish memories. Namaste, Greg RG. Georgia, you want to go to a rage room now? I don't blame you. Namaste, Anna. Donsuela, you share that you find grief comes in moments. You allow it to happen. Like waves on the beach, it comes and goes. You allow grief the space to be in the moment. That's beautiful. I'm sorry to hear that, Michael. That does sound like something to grieve. Evelyn, you share by thinking about the good memories with this person. Thank you, Zephyr. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Greg RG, you shared that you probably don't do this in the healthiest way, but you attempt replacing the grief with joy in place. I think there's a way of doing that healthily. In place of those who can't, that makes sense. Anna, you share crying. Yeah. Nish, you share that you cannot get over grief. It's 4 months and you're finished. That sounds overwhelming. Just keep breathing. Just keep swimming. This too shall pass. There's no timeline for grief, but it will go. Chloe, you share that you grieve by being in silence and then loving more. And fun to watch, you share it may sound cold, but by moving on. I think I know what you mean. Master Mix Promos, you share that grief is a very low vibration, like a bass note. But then again, we need the bass notes in order to give a kind of depth to the melody of life, which are higher. Hello, G to infinity. 224, you share, you just be. Just be. Everybody loves Raven. You share time. A deep loss changes you. It takes time to recover and adapt to your new self. It's very true. Thank you, Megan, for your rose. Radhe or Radhe. And Banjo Farts, thank you for your heart me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Master Mix Promos, you share the grief means attachment. It's true. And attachment's very natural. Gardening Greg RG. I don't know if this is a continuation of your last comment. Yeah. Now, let me just read your whole answer then. I probably don't do this in the healthiest way, but I attempt replacing the grief with joy in place of those who can't, because they are no longer here, that is. You will live for them. There. That makes sense. DBN, you share all the dark, now comes to light. It's been seen. That's a beautiful sentence. Be like Kimu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. When we get overwhelmed on stuff, we grieve. When we think we can't handle it. That's a big example of grief as well. Hello, Julie Beth. Hello, Zaki. G to Infinity, you share that this question of the day is too close to your heart right now. I hope some of these answers are relevant to you then. Chloe, you share that you listen to the deceased's favorite song. Wow, that's powerful. And thank you, Valentina, for your finger heart too. There's one for you. Hare Krishna. Banjo, you share that you sing. I love that. And hello, Grant. Julie, you share that you grieve very late. It won't hit you until days or a year later. That can happen. You know, when we've got other stuff going on, other feelings that we need to process, we can suppress our feelings to arise at a different time. And therefore, you share we're all grieving something painful, and you hope that we all find the peace we need. That's beautiful. I certainly echo that sentiment. Hello, little crystal girl. Zakira, you share by letting it out and reminding ourselves that the person would have wanted us to continue to live happily. Yeah. G to Infinity, you share that your friend just sent the message that he is in critical care at the hospital. He said, "It is time." Those are quite the 3 words, aren't they? Wow. Not the 3 words that you would want to hear from someone in such a situation. But, of course, without further context, I don't know. Obviously, you are feeling the weight of these words, and I trust your intuition here, but anything can happen. If they have made peace with such a prospect, then that's something, you know. Someone saying these words like this, it shows that there is a kind of acknowledgement and acceptance, and that's something. But still doesn't make the feelings go away, especially if we have a lot of love for this person. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of wonderful comments that I've shared so far. I don't know if I'll be able to read all your wonderful answers, but I'll just read a couple more. KY Aquatics, you share that grieving can be processed in many ways. Revenge, solitude, enlightenment, distraction, death, purpose. Well, I don't know if I would recommend all of those options, but yes. I understand you. Oh, that's funny, Jackie. And Michael, you shared that when you are grieving like sad, not mad, the darkness of a room without light gives you so much comfort. Yeah. Understimulating yourself. That could be a great thing to do. Okay. These are some wonderful answers. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate this exploration. I know it's relevant to a lot of people right now, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you, Valentina, for your finger heart earlier, and Esther, thank you for your rose. Hariom Tatsat. And Isabella, thank you for your trio of roses. Jai Sitaram. Vanessa, thank you for your heart me. And thank you, Share Bear, for your heart me and pair of best teams. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Thank you, Transient Luminescence, for your 16 best teams. A heart me and some hand hearts. There's some for you too. Hello, Sean. And Eileen, thank you for your pair of roses. Hare Krishna. And oh, I forget your name. For some reason it doesn't let me check your username when you just give a gift, but you have a beautiful username that looks like 2 flower sprouts out of the ground. Was it Ginny? I can't remember. If it's not Ginny, I'm not even close, then ignore me. Yeah. Thank you, Pidge, for your 134 roses. Hariom Tatsat. That's very kind of you. One for each one of us. We can all go home with a rose. Gregard G, you love the way leaves block some light, but lets little bits through, like little twinkly bits. I know, right? It's such a wonderful phenomenon. One of my favorite experiences is being behind the light cast from the leaves of a tree, where you get to see the leaves glowing in a sort of yellow light, and the sunlight twinkling through. That's beautiful. Thank you, Isabella, for your tiny. Yippee! And Lori, thank you for your 6 roses. Hariom Tatsat. Chloe Evans, you shared that the guided meditation we did in the last stream relaxed you. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. It was a nice simple one about conscious breathing. Thank you, Starlight, wow, for your trio of tiny tinies too. Yahoo! And thank you, Tyler, for your pair finger hearts. Radhe Radhe. Oh, thank you, Ash, for your heart me. I did see it. I had to scroll up. Thank you for telling me. Sometimes they sneak through. It's very kind of you. It's never expected, but always appreciated. Thank you, Kurbait. That means a lot to me to hear that. Hello, dear Marlon and Barbara. I would like to read from another section of this book, since we finished our last one, by Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda. You gotta see this guy. Look how happy he looks. It's called The Hidden Power in Humans, Chakras and Kundalini. So we just started it yesterday, but we can continue reading it today. It was gifted by one of our dear Sangis, Ushabai, all the way from Serbia. So it had a long trip to get to here, but now that it is here, we get to read all about chakras and Kundalini. It's a very, very powerful book. I think you'll like it a lot, actually. So I'm going to put the cover up for those who are wondering what we're reading while we are reading. By the way, the wonderful lady who sent this, Ushabai, it is her guru that wrote this book. So, sent straight from one of the devotees of this great spiritual teacher. Okay. Where did we leave off last time? We left off discussing the system that this guru had created called yoga in daily life. The physical and breathing exercises of yoga, which help us to achieve and maintain health and promote life, are only a very small part of this comprehensive system. This book deals specifically with the spiritual aspects of yoga, the goal of which is God realization, union of the individual consciousness with the divine consciousness. Yoga. In its original sense, yoga means the all-pervading, eternally awake consciousness that keeps the entire cosmos in balance. Yoga is as old as the universe itself and represents the principles of truth, love, and consciousness, forming the quote-unquote building plan of the whole universe. In the Bhagavad Gita, one of the authentic sources of yoga, Lord Krishna says to his disciple Arjuna, from the 4th chapter, very first verse, "I will now reveal to you the knowledge of yoga, which I previously gave to the sun god," which I believe was named Viviswan. Then it was given to Manu, and then the king Ikshvaku. And then in disciplic succession ever since through various ancient lineages. The knowledge given to the sun god is the light of yoga, meaning consciousness and life. And when the first ray of the sun shone on the planet, it brought with it consciousness and life. To realize yoga means to achieve self-realization, which is identical to God realization. Realization of and union with God is to experience oneself as a part of God. With this realization, the individual soul, the Jivatma in Sanskrit, is united with the true self, the Atma, which is its origin. And as the Atma is a part of the Supreme Self, the Paramatma, they are therefore in essence the same. And so, at the end, the quote-unquote little I of the ego dissolves in the divine self, just like a raindrop in the ocean. The path that leads us to the experience and realization of this oneness is also called yoga. In this sense, yoga is described as a scientific system of physical, breathing, concentration, and meditation practices and principles, as well as ethical rules for living. These practices and principles were revealed and transmitted by God to the sages and seers, the so-called rishis of India, in their meditations many thousands of years ago. In the view of the varying predispositions and interests of people, the rishis outlined 4 main yoga paths. Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion. Bhakti yogis offer their love and devotion to that form of God worshipped by them. All of the religions are actually sub-branches of Bhakti Yoga. Yoga is the greatest spiritual system. There is no higher. Every religion in the world is just a small part of Bhakti Yoga, which is a small part of yoga. Then there's Karma Yoga. Karma yogis worship God through their selfless service for all living beings. This includes all humanitarian work. There is Raja Yoga, the kingly yoga. Raja yogis awaken the supreme consciousness within through discipline and meditation. This includes all athleticism. And there's Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Jnana Yoga strives for the knowledge of the impersonal divine principle, which includes all of science. So these 4 branches of this greater practice called yoga includes everything from all the religions, humanitarian effort, athleticism, and searching for knowledge such as science and philosophy. It's all a part of yoga. We are all yogis, even if we do not realize it yet. These 4 spiritual paths are inextricably linked to one another and lead to the same goal, to self-knowledge and God-realization, to union with the cosmic consciousness. The Indian rishis who possessed insight into the past, present, and future predicted that Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion to God, would be especially important for the people of the Kali Yuga, the dark age in which we are currently living. The spiritual development of Bhakti Yogis take place in a very natural way, just like a child who has complete trust in its parents to provide for it, love it, and give it protection. The system, yoga in daily life, shows us how to connect Bhakti Yoga with the other 3 yoga paths in our everyday life, within the family and the workplace. We are able to achieve the goal of self-realization through our sincere devotion to the divine by developing unconditional love for all living beings, by offering practical and selfless help to all those in need, by constant spiritual practice, purification of our consciousness, and self-mastery. May this book show the way to supreme consciousness for all spiritual seekers. With blessings, Mahamandaleshwar Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda, from Vienna, August 2001. There's a footnote here when we mention the Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, which literally means the dark age, humans have literally forgotten their connection to the divine knowledge. War, violence, cruelty, catastrophes, disease, and destruction are the signs of Kali Yuga and are clearly recognizable in the world today. We can illuminate this dark age by cultivating the positive attributes of love, understanding, generosity, forgiveness, and service, and help to turn things around for the better. And we'll pause our reading of The Hidden Power in Humans for now. There's a lovely, beautiful Om symbol on the next page, which we'll start with next time. Thank you for listening. And now we can discuss whatever's on your heart and mind, maybe inspired by what we're discussing, or we can change topics. It was Ginny who sent that, the heart me earlier. Thank you for that. And you also sent a quartet of cloudbreads, a rose, and another 18 roses, a community fest, and an applause. There's an applause for you too. Jai Sat-Chit-Anandam. Thank you, brilliant genius, for your rose. Om Namah Shivaya. And Tyler, thank you for your pair of finger hearts you sent a few minutes ago. And thank you, Kent and Lisa, for your community fest and heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Kazki, thank you for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. Now, while we were reading, it was a good question from Rowan. You ask, is this like saying we all follow this religion and yogis in some way? I see what you mean by that, but as I said, yoga by itself does not have to be religious. Many people practice it irreligiously. It's like squares and rectangles. Not all squares are rectangles. No, sorry. Yes, all squares are rectangles, rather. But not all rectangles are squares. Sets and subsets. You could say that religion is a subset of yoga. But yoga isn't a religion by itself. Religion is an aspect of Bhakti Yoga, which is itself a branch of yoga. But yoga includes many more things that are not religious. But yes, we are all yogis in some way. Some of us just have a natural inclination towards Bhakti Yoga, towards devotional sentiments. Some of us have a natural inclination towards Karma Yoga, towards leading a highly active life. Some of us have an inclination toward Raja Yoga, developing divine consciousness from within through meditation and other means. And some of us have an inclination towards Jnana Yoga through studying scripture, contemplating on divine truths. Good night, Sky Guardian. What are you, Batman? I know I'm not reading these comments in the order they're sent, but hello Ro, hello Kazki. Vanessa, you're wondering, when and how does the Kali Yuga come to an end, and what comes after? It is said that the Kali Yuga will end in, 432,000 years or so? Well, that's the length of a Kali Yuga. A dark age is supposed to last 432,000 years. And of that, we've surpassed 5,000 years. So since the Bronze Age collapse, since around the Bronze Age, there has been what's called the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, where humanity is defined by quarrel and hypocrisy mainly. And it's said that at the end of this 432,000 year dark period, so that'll be the year, the year about 430,000. So we got a long way to go. Forget about like the 2000s, 3000s, 4000s. The year 430,000 thereabouts will be finally out of the dark age. So requires a little bit of patience, and it's supposed to end when the final incarnation of Krishna appears as Kalki. And it'll uplift humanity back into the Satya Yuga, the age of truth. However, that's the Yuga of the Earth planet. Different places have different yugas, and that includes our own heart. Whether we are in the Kali Yuga or not depends on the state of our heart. It's said that if Sattva Gun, the quality of goodness, prevails in our heart, then we are in the Satya Yuga in our heart. And then different combinations of Rajas and Tamas create the Dwapara Yuga or the Treta Yuga respectively. And then when Tamas, the quality of darkness, is prevalent in our heart, then we are in the Kali Yuga. Now, Eileen, you are wondering, what am I saying after saying your names? Mantras? And you feel much better after hearing it lately. Yes, they are mantras. For example, Radhe or Radhe refers to the Divine Mother, Radha. Actually, I have a portrayal of her next to me. Here she is. She represents the whole of the universe. She represents individual minds and she represents the interplay between them, the relationships. So, by invoking her, we are giving a shout out to creation, creatures, and our relationships between each other, honoring the fact that the Divine Mother is within everyone, all of us. Now thank you, Ginny, for another music play. Radhe Radhe. And Isabella, thank you for your finger heart. Here's one for you. And thank you, Vanessa, for your trio of roses too. Alyssa G, you're wondering, was I raised in an ashram? No. I was raised in Calgary, Alberta. Just about the opposite of an ashram. Rowan, you ask, do I think humans as a collective are predetermined / wired to be conflictive? Psychologists say that aggression is a personality marker. It's a spectrum that everyone is on, and it can shift from time to time. Aggression has evolved along with many other animal instincts in order for survival as a way to protect resources. But if we become too focused on protecting our resources, then we can become competitive. Absolutely. That's a general scientific approach, but spiritually speaking, it is said that we have free will so that we can both do harm and do good. The purpose of having this choice is because that goodness requires conscious will. It gives goodness purpose because we don't have to choose it, but yet we can. And when we choose goodness, then what? When we choose goodness, then we make the world a better place, and we genuinely make it one because of our sincere decision for it to be, rather than just the way things have to work. That's one of the most wonderful things I think about making the world a peaceful place, is that it doesn't have to be a peaceful place, but we choose for it to be. And I think that's the most beautiful choice we can make. And I hope we can continue making that together. Rhiannon, you share, it feels good to choose goodness. Jake, you share, the choice of goodness is essential to living in the world you want to live. You all are very wise. Ginny, you're wondering, where did I learn all these things? It's pretty fascinating. Well, my parents taught me to kind of find my own way in life. And much of these things are just things that I've thought about. I had a childhood where I'd spend a lot of time with myself. I didn't have that many friends when I was younger. And so to, pass the time to entertain myself, I'd often just think about philosophical questions about the nature of life. And I never really expected to get anywhere with it. But now that I'm older and I have also learned from great spiritual teachers, I think those two aspects of me really come together in a way that allows me to speak freely on these topics, both from my own experience and from hearing the perspectives of so many around me. And yes, you're right, G to infinity. And now I have 109, plus or minus, friends. But yeah, one of my biggest recommendations for anyone who's interested in the things that I talk about is genuinely to play around with these ideas yourself. I'd love to empower you because there's nothing quite like discovering spiritual truths without anyone holding your hand, just hanging out with yourself, abiding in your own company, and having trust that the things will come to you. That said, there are some great resources that I can get to you. Magdalene, you share that your yam Dana arrived. My goodness, it arrived before I even got one. You'll have to send me pictures. I'm really curious what they look like. Maria, you didn't know my eyes were so blue. Well, it helps having a bright blue sky behind you. Hello, Solis. Welcome. Trust is the word, I agree. And Alyssa G, you're wondering, what spiritual teachers have been the most influential for me? I don't know if I can say anyone in particular, because what makes a beautiful perspective, in my opinion, is one which accommodates many. And so I really try to get insight from lots of different places. I listen to lovely Buddhist teachers like Lama Lena, she's a wonderful nun, or Pema Chodron, which we've been reading together. I love reading from Sufi mystics like Rumi, Christian mystics like John Butler, and many lovely Indian gurus. I learned a lot about the greats like Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna and Paramahansa. I learned from Sri Ramana Maharishi. I learned from Paramahansa Yogananda and his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri. I learned from Swami Taratmananda, which is a Swami who's still alive today, from the Arsha Bodha Center. And now I'm learning from the guru of this book we're reading together, Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda. And to me, it's all of that combined that's so important. Having a well-rounded perspective is important, because if you think about it, if you're just looking at something from one side, you only get to see that side. You just get a two-dimensional image of it. But if you walk all around an object, then you get a truly three-dimensional understanding. And if you wait for it to evolve through time, be patient with it, then you get a four-dimensional understanding. That's a great way of putting it, Rowan. You suppose it's best to keep an open mind and learn from everything if it resonates with you. Yeah. Oh, Gurudev. I love Gurudev. Yeah, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and Jagi Dev. Jagi Vasudev Sadguru. He has also helped me out of my worst times. I agree with that, Mills. Kent and Lisa, you're wondering if I had the smoke souk there. We did yesterday. It has cleared, but my sister was so scared. Ever since she was young, she had this terrible fear of fires. And no one really knows where that came from. It might be a samskar, a past life impression. Because there were no incidents that me or my parents can point to with my younger sister involving fire. But yet she's been terrified of fire her whole life. And so when she heard the news that there was a fire just outside our city, and on Vancouver Island we get lots of wildfires, she was frantically updating the news, scrolling to see if it would update. She was so scared that the fire would reach our house, but thankfully it did not, and the skies are clear, and as far as I know, the fires are put out. And I wanted to thank you, Eileen, for your tiny a few minutes ago. Thank you. Yippee! And thank you, Ginny, for your W. Another finger heart. Here's a finger heart for you and an ice cream cone. Hare Krishna. And hello, Sarah. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your trio of disco loves. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Feline, you shared that you missed me today. Oh, it's okay. Welcome. You feel depressed for your mama is not feeling well because of your pancreas, or you're not feeling well because of your pancreas. Well, if you need to rest, and that takes you away from social media, from live streams such as this, I totally understand. That's okay. And I hope that you do get the rest that you'd need. But I'm happy to accommodate your emotional and mental needs as best as I can here. My prayers go out for you, your pancreas, and your lovely children, and your kittens, your many kittens. Thank you, Braiha, for your heart to me a moment ago. And Ari, thank you for your tiny Yahoo! And your finger heart. There's one for you. And Gina, thank you for your community fest. Hari Om Tat Sat. Josh, you're wondering, how would I label my spirituality? I would label it as open, as labelless, as accommodating to everyone around me, as much as I can. Thank you, Dan Suela. Fire can be scary. Mills, you shared that you're in northern BC and you've got a fire 14 kilometers away. Oh, my sister would be in her bathtub, probably. Caro, you were wondering if I knew the teachings of Mattias de Stefano. I'm unfamiliar, but thank you for your recommendations. And thank you, Isadora Og. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name anything remotely close to how you intend, but I appreciate you for that heartbeat. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your dozen roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Ginny, thank you for another friendship necklace. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Classified Crypto Army, you ask, have I ever been in a fight? In my childhood, I had some bullies, definitely. And they would try to beat me up. And normally I would just take it. And it took a while until I really learned how to stand up for myself. And in the few times that, I couldn't walk away or reason with them, what I'd do is I'd just throw them to the ground. I had this move where I just put my leg in front of theirs and I'd rock them over my leg and then I'd just walk away. I'd just try to huck them on the ground and walk away. And it was very effective. I don't know if this works for all fights, but in middle school fights... In middle school, this was very effective. They stopped bullying me very quickly. My mother always taught me to try to walk away first. Try to ignore them. Try to walk away. Try to talk it out or seek help. But if that doesn't work, then, my mother said you're always welcome to defend yourself. She said, I will defend you if you get in trouble for it. And I think something similar happened with my sister. Someone was, I think, trying to assault my sister. I don't want to go into details, but my sister smacked him or punched him or something and actually really hurt the guy. And she ended up getting in trouble for it at school, but my sister, or my mother was like, you did good, How can you expect to defend yourself otherwise? So sometimes physical defense is unfortunately necessary. Yes, Mama. Savannah, you shared that you were called a chicken once by a bully because you walked away from her. Well, That's one of the nicer insults that you could get. Chicken's just a funny thing to say. Yeah, it's funny. They want to fight. They want a reaction. And if you don't give them one, they've got nothing to go off of. You're just gonna stand there like a lemon. That's what they say in England. What are you? You a lemon? I don't know what lemon means in British English, but hello, Abby. Brave Bella, you loved my new video. Oh, thank you. I think it's a ridiculous video. I have to admit that is not my favorite video I've ever made. Savannah, you add that nothing happened, of course. Middle school girls, yeah. Oh, middle school. Lots of hormones going around. It's a chaotic time. Donsuela, you share that it's a funny thing to call someone because chickens are fierce. That's a good point. You know, I don't think I'd actually want to go be in a fight with a chicken. With their talons and everything. They're the descendants of dinosaurs, you know? They were pretty powerful. I ain't fighting with the ancestor of a dinosaur. They got all their ancestors looking after them. Magdalene, you share that a peer wouldn't stop pulling your hair after telling them to stop, so you shoved a cupcake up their nose. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's great. I think I've had some pretty creative ways of getting out of bullying too. I think I think the earliest memory I have that's relevant is in grade 1. I was bullied in the lunchroom by some boys who were maybe 3-4 years older than me. And so I picked up their food and I just hucked it at a wall and it splattered all over the wall. I think they were so shocked that I did that they stopped picking on me. Also, those same groups of bullies, I once got this other girl to go and start beating them up. She was like grade 1 like me, and they were much older. They didn't really get hurt, but she was like a tough girl. And so I went up to her and I said, hey, I don't really know you, but these guys are being mean to me. Can you go beat them up? So I sent this girl named Harley. I sent this little girl named Harley to go and you know, punch their ankles. Whatever, it worked. Hey, new Yam Lord dropped. That's right. Jackie, you share your cat typed something. What did your cat type? Your cat typed didn't think of that. Well, your cat has quite the diction. Anyway. Thank you, Risi, for your 11 finger hearts. There's some for you too. Coming up for you. There they are. Thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, Betty Alf, for your heart me. And thank you, John F, for your community fest. Jai Sitaram. This has been a funny conversation on bullying and self-defense. Protecting your resources is important. This definitely goes back to what we were talking about earlier of aggression and defensiveness being a part of our animalistic nature. We have to take care of this body and this mind. Ensuring the least harm for everyone also means that we take ourselves out of harm's way sometimes. Ginny, thank you for that snowboard. Raymond, you shared that you're absolutely terrified of your own consciousness and existence itself. I know what you mean. I have certainly felt that emotion, and I'll probably feel it again sometime, but it always passes. I hope you know this, that fear, like any other sensation, they appear to us, they persist for a while, and they subside. Remember that moments of clarity and peace are coming. There's no way that you're not going to feel better soon. The good news is that consciousness and existence, from one perspective, can be really blissful. In fact, there's a word for the bliss of existence and consciousness. It's called Sat-Chit-Anandam. Sat refers to existence. Chit refers to consciousness. Ananda means bliss. Sat-Chit-Anandam has been used to describe the nature of your true self. The ultimate conclusion of spiritual practice is that we discover the bliss of existence and consciousness. Sat-Chit-Anandam. It's a very beautiful feeling. And I know you'll get there. Fear often comes with a lack of understanding. And the more we understand something, the more we become full of, understanding. The more we feel content. Fear is very much related to the unknown. And it's all of the mystery surrounding the gaps in our experience that we make up all sorts of demons for ourselves and monsters in the dark. Pardon me for my sneeze. I'm actually being rained on by sap from this tree, a mist of sap. Thank you for your blessings. It will get easier. One broke girl, you share that you're struggling to exist right now. That's understandable too. Sometimes it really feels like just being ourselves is hard, but we can make it easier on ourselves. Sometimes it's not actually the existing part that's difficult. That's the easy part. It's all of the responsibilities that we feel like we have to do in order to exist. All of the expectations we have to be a certain version of ourselves for others. If we really ask, what does it mean to be me? I think you'll find a much peaceful part of yourself, which is not someone that has to fulfill all these obligations and expectations that we put on ourselves or that others put on us. You're not someone that has to fulfill all these obligations and expectations that we put on ourselves or that others put on us. You're allowed. I think my internet disconnected me for a moment. I hope I'm back. If I am, please let me know. I'm back. Thank you. It's important. Anyway, my point is that we can make existing easier on ourselves by allowing ourselves to be. Thank you, Amanda, for that heart me. And Danny boy, thank you for that rose. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Savannah, you share that becoming a young mother has its toll. You feel like you've lost your identity for the most part. Or perhaps you are embracing new sides of your identity, and because your awareness is now surrounding your new aspect of motherhood, then we have put some other parts of ourselves aside, and that's part of a sacrifice that we make when we become mothers, because suddenly other beings their happiness, their identities become more important than our own. But we live through them as they are literally an expression of our love. I feel you. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your garland headpiece. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And Betty Elf, thank you for your friendship necklace. Hari Om Tat Sat. 4B movement, you ask, if we are energy, what becomes of us after death? I like your idea of considering ourselves as energy. It's one step removed from the physical body. But let's take this even further. We're not even energy. We are nothingness incarnate. What do I mean by that? Well, everything in the material universe has energy. Light has energy, matter has energy. Even the potential for gravity to take an object from this height to another has an energy associated with it. There's kinetic energy, etc. What happens to us when we die? Well, nothing. Because we are not anything energetic. That's the secret. The word for energy in Sanskrit is Shakti. But we are not Shakti. We are the Shaktiman, it's called. The source of the energy. Source itself has no energy. Isn't that wild? Nothingness has no energy, but yet it gives rise to the energy of everything. That is to say, we are more akin to space than we are to what's contained within that space. Consciousness is like the space of this experience because it contains the body, it contains the mind. This is opposite to what you might normally consider, that our body has a consciousness, our mind has a consciousness. But it's the other way around in this perspective, that your consciousness has a body, your consciousness has a mind. And when your body and mind go, consciousness remains. Because it's not the consciousness that you lose, it's the body and mind that you lose, which are experiences inside it. Trisha, you clarify. Is our soul not energy? You can think of it like energy, but it would be more accurate to call it a simile. It's like energy because it's not something substantial like a rock, but it's not even energy itself. It's the space for energy to flow. You could say that it's a kind of spiritual energy by analogy, but you couldn't convert it into any other form of energy because it's not material. I hope that makes sense. Thank you, brave Bella, for your finger heart. Thank you, brave Bella, for your finger heart. Anthony, you really like the Hermetic philosophy. What do I think of it when it says the universe is mind? I love that. And thank you for giving me an example of something Hermetic, for I'm unfamiliar with Hermetic philosophy in general, but I have heard good things of it. When I hear the statement, the universe is mind, I have to agree with that. Because all that we know of as forms that have names, that have definitions associated with it, we have constructed that in our mind. The whole universe is our mind because our mind is our whole universe. We cannot experience anything outside of our mind. Think about this. That you've seen trees and people and places and cities, and you've felt love. You've watched giant stars rise over the horizon, the moon move the tides. You've seen rivers, you've seen forests, you've seen deserts. You've seen all sorts of technological creations. You've been to school, you've been to therapy, you've experienced so many things. But yet, all of those things you've only ever experienced in your mind. Because we don't literally see the world as it is, or hear it, or taste it, or smell it, or touch it. We only experience the impression of it on our mind. I think my internet disconnected me for a moment. It looks like I'm back. Anyway. That's not to say this whole reality is an illusion. It's just to say that the only way we get to experience reality is through our mind. So all of the words we have to describe everything about the universe that we have come to know it in our mind. Whenever you think of the stars and galaxies and planets in the whole universe, you're just imagining your mind. You're only experiencing your mind in the form of the universe as you have experienced it. But I don't mean to give you an existential crisis, as if we're all trapped in our minds, because it's the most real place to be. It's not like there's anything more real. It is the most real. Still, all of the love we have to give, all of the suffering we have to attend to, all of the beautiful memories, all of the heartbreak, it's all part of this universal mind. Thank you, John F., for your heart me just a minute ago. Jenny, thank you for your 11 roses too. That's a very important question, Bastian. What are some tips to heal repeating traumatic memories from childhood? Its weight is so heavy in consciousness. My simple answer is let go. You don't have to hold that weight anymore. Practically, this is much easier said than done. But in the moment when a memory arises, we can take a deep breath in and we can take a deep breath out. Try our best to let it flow, let it go. This memory cannot hurt you. It's the power we give our memories that end up hurting ourselves. And you can take what you've learned from this difficult lesson. You can learn to forgive and move on. I believe that every moment in our life contains a lesson. And if we can really value the lesson that we've learned from these moments more than the pain, then that lifts you up and lightens the load. Right now, 99% of the people on the planet, they're suffering from one of two things, or both. Their memory or their imagination. We constantly bring our memory to mind and we suffer all these terrible times. Again, we relive them. Or we imagine all the foreseeable futures in which something goes wrong and we suffer prematurely. But if you try to be here, in this moment, without memory or imagination, you'll find that it's actually a very peaceful place to be. we've only turned it into an unpeaceful place through our memory or our imagination. Try to think of a thought that does not have to do with the past or present. It can be difficult at first, but it could be as simple as acknowledging the leaves next to us. That's a peaceful thought. Acknowledging leaves, very simple. There's no responsibility associated with that thought. Oh, the ground is nice and firm. That's a peaceful thought. The sky is blue. Just making observations about what's here, what's now. We can redirect our mental faculties away from the past or future. I am breathing. That's a great one, Queen of the Fairies. I love that. And it takes practice. Sometimes it can take several minutes to ground ourselves or center ourselves. And even then it might not completely take hold. But what else can we do? We can try our best to center ourselves in this way, and slowly and surely it gets better. Trying to ground yourself, recenter yourself in this way only makes things easier for yourself. No harm in trying, at least. Sometimes we can expect ourselves that we should be grounded, we should be centered, we should be present. But you can even relieve ourselves of that expectation. Banjo, you ask, do I think people can heal without acknowledging the past? That's a good question. I don't know, but I will say that acknowledging the past can make healing easier. I think we can agree there, at least. That reinvestigating our past with a safe mindset, and by that I mean that you constantly bring to mind that you're just remembering this. It's not still occurring. That you're safe here. We can detach some negative associations from these memories from a new vantage point. It's not to say we change our memory to reflect something that didn't happen. But we look back at it with a kind of openness and understanding that we have now that we didn't have at the time. That requires a safe environment, like the office of a counselor or therapist that you really trust, or loved ones around, or your favorite stuffed animal. There's nothing embarrassing about having your room really comforting while you go and ensure that your memories are addressed. It's like going back in time and putting your hand on the shoulder of your childhood self, going through this moment, and you say to your childhood self, I feel you, I hear you, I understand. Things are gonna get better. It's okay. You're not in danger anymore. If you can really touch your younger self in this way, you can heal through time in many ways. And I like that too, Gabriella, bringing back the right feelings from the past. And there are no wrong feelings. You're allowed to feel however you're feeling. And if we are using our imagination and our memory, we might as well remember good times, and we might as well imagine good times too. If our mind is constantly coming up with a movie to play, well, we might as well put on a good movie with a happy ending. Right now we're making horror movies in our minds when we don't have to. Thank you, Salome. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you for your rose. Shalom, Shalomi. Radhe or Radhe. So you share, yes, telling the younger self, You are safe. I will keep you safe. Eden, you're wondering, do I feel less anxious in lives than my posts? Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Trainadora Sarah, thank you for that heart me a minute ago. And Bexasor, thank you for your finger heart. Here's a finger heart for you too. Arion Tatsat. Thank you, Tony, for your fruit friends. I do consider fruit my friends, although I try not to as I'm eating them. I try not to eat my friends. It's a simple rule I have. Thank you for that. And thank you, Trainadora Sarah, for another tiny. Yahoo! Thank you for your blessing, Sophia. Sissy girl, you're wondering, how old am I? In this body, 22. And Singing Broken Heart, you're wondering, am I vegan? I try to minimize the suffering on my plate as much as possible. In the last 2 years, my body has gradually gone away from meat and eggs, but I can't be said to be vegan since I love my cheese. I try to drink a glass of milk. If I can, I try to get it from a place, where the cows are taken nice and care of. I love cows. They're like our mother. Cows, they provide fertile soil to grow so many plants. They provide milk. They're like a mother. Brave fella, you said cheese is too good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think it would take a lot of discipline for me to not eat cheese. Anna, you share out of context, that would be wild. I think most things in this live, out of context, are probably wild. That is hard to hear, Singing Broken Heart. Are you vegan? Yes. I feel you. I think that's beautiful that you have so much love for animals. That makes me happy to hear. I believe that everybody has different dietary needs. And although I would love a world with no reliance on animals for food other than ourselves, and I would love to be vegan one day, it's not a step that I feel my body is willing to take at this moment. And I do not believe that telling people what to do with their bodies, with their dietary habits, is a right way forward. There are easier approaches. Naturally, I found that my body became more and more averse toward eating meat, but that happened naturally, I will emphasize. It was never a moral choice. On the spiritual path, when you are ready, you will make the decisions. Until that happens, we must be conscious that other people are not ready to make this decision yet. But if we are role models, and we treat fellow humans with the same love and respect that we treat animals, then slowly, over time, I think we can make a difference in the world. But we do have many vegans here, or many aspiring vegans like Sky Guardian. And I hope you feel welcome here. Aphasia, thank you for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. I'm happy you liked the new video, Alice. And thank you for your rose as well, Aphasia Vampire. Radhe Radhe. Loving vegans, we are. Speak of the devil. Just kidding. You're about the opposite of the devil that you can be. Thank you, Rahina, for your 11 tiny tinies. Yippee! It's very kind of you. Loving vegans, we are. You share that you can inform yourself on your channel about being vegan. And I love your approach. It's a self-informing discovery. I think that makes the most sense to me and is probably the most successful in my opinion. Let's read this poem called Burnt Wing. Slightly switching topics too. Rumi, in his book of poetry, I would love to read another poem with you all. Oh, let me put up the book cover. There. This poem is called Burnt Wing. The fowler scatters grain incessantly. The grain is visible, but the deceit is hidden. Wherever you see the grain, beware. A trap may imprison your wings. The bird that gives up that grain eats from reality's spacious field. It remains contented and free. No trap seizes its feathers. Many times you have fallen to the snare of greed and given your throat up to be cut. But again the one that disposes heart to remorse has set you free, accepted your repentance, and made you rejoice. O moth, don't be forgetful and full of doubt. Just look at your burnt wing. A lovely poem by Rumi. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Tibishore, for your friendship necklace. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Isabella, thank you for your quartet of roses. Radhe Radhe. ILY, you share that you think you get it why I deleted them, but you thank me for the videos that manage to put words to your thoughts. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for understanding. And hello, dear Shakira. Radhe Radhe. Thank you for your heart, me. Tony, you're wondering, is there a message with that poem? Of course. It wouldn't be poetry if it didn't speak to the heart. Now, as for what that message exactly is, I don't know. I'm happy that you like the wind chimes, Captain Rachel. They used to be actually above the microphone, and I feared that they would be way too loud for this live stream. So I moved them behind me. Yeah, people have been saying that, I think. My blue eyes are very blue today. And thank you, Usha, for your hanging lights. And thank you for lighting up our lives in other ways, such as with the book that you have gifted us from your guru. Danny you share, you think it's the green bandana offsetting them. Could be. Or could be the bright blue sky in front of me. Or perhaps a combination of them both. Crossfires, you share my other videos I reposted. Was your first time seeing them. Pretty awesome. Oh, that's fun. I'm glad you like them. And Captain Rachel, you're wondering, do I have a poem that I've written that I'd be willing to share? In theory, yes, I've written many poems in my life. However, I don't remember my own poetry. So I'd have to go looking for you. Yes, I can show the book again for you loving vegans we are. In fact, what I can do is I can put the book cover up. And if you wanted to take a screenshot of it, now's your chance. Okay. Sky Guardian, you share, roses are red, violets are blue. Oh no. Roses are red, violets are blue. Then what color is violet? That's very funny. It's a good point. Touché. Touché. I've heard many variations of that poem, but I've never actually thought about the fact that violet doubles as a color as well as a flower. You could say that violet is a shade of blue. Then there's no paradox. Loving vegans, you share that your cat is called Shakti. I love that. Hello, freshly seen. And Sue, you share that I seem to be a bit closer to the camera today. Oh, I think that's true as well. Yeah. Gaia, you ask, why is it important to be spiritual? Because if we lose track of who we truly are, which is spirit, then how can we possibly fully be a part of this world and therefore find our drive, our meaning, our purpose? And you can't find yourself without spirituality, because finding yourself is literally the business of spirituality. It's discovering who you are and how you relate to all that is. And thank you, Banjo, for your finger heart. Om Namah Shivaya. And your cats are not vegan. No, it'd be pretty hard to attend to their nutritional needs. Although my cat, Sandy, he loves eating flowers. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a flowertarian. If that, it might be all he wants to eat, but he definitely needs some protein. He's so small. That's the thing. His brother's so much bigger than him, even though they're twins. But Sandy just prefers to eat flowers, and he likes munching on spinach. And one of Sandy's favorite foods that I don't know if I've mentioned, he always, without fault, dives into my garbage after I've been eating a muffin, and he chews on the wrapper. Every time I have a muffin and I hear someone going through my little trash bin, Sandy walks away with a muffin wrapper in his mouth, and he goes and sucks on it and licks the crumbs off. He leaves it on the floor. I am always finding these muffin wrappers all over the floor, and it's Sandy. I've never met a cat who just loves eating flowers and muffin wrappers. He's a mood. We love him. Simply Don, you share that your cat used to go nuts over corn husks. Wow. I just love the dietary habits of cats. Cats are like pregnant people sometimes. They just crave the wildest foods. Sandy is a natural composter. He is a composter, isn't he, G? That's so funny. Yeah, and he smells great, you know? Every time he licks himself, his fur smells like fruit, you know, like a flowery aroma. He's very sweet smelling. His brother, on the other hand, he smells kind of musky and savory, sometimes a little smoky, perhaps. Yeah, they're like night and day. But that's why they're called Shadow and Sandy. And Donsuela, you shared that you had a small dog growing up that would eat candy canes off the bottom of the Christmas tree. So you had to only put candy canes on the top half of the tree. I love that. And Unicorn Sprinkles, you shared that your cat loves yogurt. Shadow does as well. She will jump up and help herself to your breakfast. That's so cute. Well, it's good for her gut health. That funny video of that cat, I'm sure some of you have seen, that just retches every time their owner puts yogurt in front of them. It's one of the funniest videos on the planet. That cat with yogurt in front of it that goes... The sound is incredible. Without context, I'm sure that's as funny as everything else. You just watched that today, G to Infinity. We're connected. The sniff test videos. Yeah, exactly, Jocelyn. Does sound like a crow. Jacqueline, you share that yours had a time where she liked watermelon. Oh, I've seen videos of cats munching on watermelon. Very satisfying. And Simply Dawn, you share your dog used to drink your damn cup of wine when you were in the bathroom. That's funny. Wow. Aw. Cat in the Hat, meow. MX, you share your service dog had her own pet kitty. A little service kitty for a service dog. Eden, you're wondering, do I ever feel the need to shower Sandy? Never, because he smells so good. He actually does such a great job grooming himself. And he always gets behind, his nails. He spends a good 30 minutes cleaning the dirt between his paws, his toe beans. He's really good at grooming himself, actually. They both are. Hello, T. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. And Aphasia, you share that your cat, Suki, loves catgrass. And she gets so annoyed when we buy spring onions. That's funny. Well, they do have very sensitive noses and ears and eyes and skin and tongue. Yeah, the cats are just sensitive. They have really, really high, strong senses. Sky Guardian, you share it's probably on purpose because he doesn't want to shower. Look, I'm cleaning myself real good. Please, no water. Now, Diana, you're wondering, how can I be happy today? We can be happy today because that's our gift to the world. In a world where there's so much unhappiness, we can hold space for the suffering and at the same time provide joy. Feline, you share that Bounty, your cat, and that's a great name for a cat, today went to serve himself in the fridge and stay inside, pitching the chicken. Pitching the chicken. I don't know what that means. I gotta be honest with you. Like pitching a football, throwing the chicken around. I wouldn't be surprised. Hello, Renbox. Welcome. I hope the planes passing overhead aren't too loud for you. They stole the kitchen. I keep saying kitchen instead of chicken. I'm having a spoonerism with the syllables of that sentence. They stole the chicken. Oh, they would, wouldn't they? That is true, Maryam. My mother does keep good care of her garden. It's really hard to be depressed when you're surrounded by nature. I find, especially nature that's blossoming in so many different ways. And hello and thank you, Dob Darker, for your heart me. Ariom Tatsat. And Feline, you are vegan too, and the chicken is for him. Oh. Well, that's not a stolen chicken. He's just eating his food. Jacqueline, you share that my mic has good sound isolation. The plane is so far. Oh, good. I am happy to hear that. I do want this to be a good audio and visual experience for you. Thank you, Feline, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. You agree with that, G? You are most yourself in silence of a magical garden. There's a beautiful quote that I first heard in the video game Civilizations 5, where you are closest to God in a garden. Or was that? I think that was the term. And I remember being in a garden at my university, which has lovely nature built into the campus when I was attending there as a student. And engraved on this wood that was hidden behind some vines, I had to tug at the vines to really discover this message that was there. And it read, if there is anywhere on earth where you are likely to hear the whispers of God, you will hear them in a garden. And I thought that was such a beautiful quote, since it was grown over by vines. That's funny, freshly seen. That's right, the Rafex. I did study math in university. If so, do I recommend it? I recommend you study whatever your heart desires to study. Study something that you're passionate about. Study something that you feel will help you be the best version of yourself for everyone. And you are asking because you're going to be in the final year in high school after holidays and you want to study math. Well, go for it. Absolutely. Marcia, you share, yes, your garden is your church. Dirt therapy too. Dirt therapy, I like that. I heard that certain chemicals in soil actually release endorphins when they're in contact with the skin. Hello, Amy Baba Studio. And there are effects you share, you're passionate about math, and also because you're from Poland and you have free university. Well, sounds like everything is in order for you to study math then. Mr. Astrolabe, you ask, is every Atman the same? Yes, because there is one Atman. But we have different Jivatmans. Atma, Sanskrit, refers to the soul. There's really only one soul. But we have different jivas, which is like the bubble around the air, which divides the inside of the air to the outside. Really, the air inside the bubble is no different to the air outside. It's the same air. And when the bubble pops, they merge as if there never was any separation. That's when you become a jiva mukta, a liberated being. However, we can talk about these relative terms from inside the bubble. We can talk about the self inside the bubble as the Atman, and the greater self outside the bubble as the Paramatman, the higher self. And we can call the bubble itself the jiva, and the bubble containing the air inside as the jivatma. But the air of the bubble is the same air as the air outside, so it's one Atman. But relatively, we can refer to the air outside as the Paramatman, the higher self. Sky Guardian, you're wondering, did I get that from Swami Taratmanandaji's video? Interestingly, no. But I can hear him using that analogy. I think it's a common one. I can't remember where I heard it from, but I know many people use it. Yeah, I can't claim to come up with that analogy, but I'm sure that Swamiji puts it better than I do. I think my mother would kill me if I got dreads. Thank you, Sky Guardian. Thank you, Isabella, for your trio of roses earlier. And Feline, thank you for your friendship necklace. Ariom Tatsat. And Renvox, thank you for your ginger man. Om Namah Shivaya. In Mi Baba Studio, you ask, what is the fastest way to find the highest mind stage? I believe that because our mind is part of the material existence, part of the Maya, then there is no perfected stage, there is no highest stage. We can always go higher. Now, if you're a perfectionist, that sounds like hell. Oh my goodness, there's always something I can improve. But I promise there's a way of interpreting that where it becomes so blissful. There's always something I can work on. There's always something higher for me to. The journey goes on. And I think if you understand the beauty of that, then there's a bliss in not being at the highest state yet. Because there is always a higher state. That's the nature of infinity, is that we can always add one to get from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 1,000,000 to 1,000,000,000 to 1,000,000,000,000, etc. But we can always do that. And yes, we keep getting closer to infinity. Or at least we get further from where we've come. But there's always infinitely more progress to do. And maybe enlightenment isn't getting to the infinity itself. It's the bliss of always adding one. Of always bringing more presence into your life, into the life around you. You finally go with the flow, and you're now accelerating on your journey, going faster and faster. You've hit some smooth sailing stretch in which peace is finally there. And thank you, Ben, for your trio of tiny tinies. Yippee! And thank you, Ben, for your quartet of cloudbreads, your pair of ice creams, and your trio of popcorns. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Ben, for your W and your pair of ginger men. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. And thank you, Dirt. We love Dirt. Thank you for your heart me and your 5-finger hearts. Radhe, Radhe. Unicorn sprinkles, you ask, are my parents and siblings also free and open in their spirits like me? Well, we're all different people, and I don't think I can compare my spirituality with theirs, but we are all learning and growing from each other in different ways. My sister is getting into crystals and spells. She likes that kind of spirituality, which, makes sense. She's in high school. My mother is very nature-driven spiritually. My father's a big thinker. He likes to ask big questions and think about it. Yeah, I think we're very unique, but similar in many ways. Of course, Feline, yes. Do ask a question. I'll look out for it. Bree, you shared that you've had a lot of severe lightning by you lately, and it's been so meditative to watch. I love that you find something relaxing in it, because it can be really scary for others. Sky Guardian, you share. Imagine me making my sister mad and she puts a spell on me. Oh boy. Well, I'd like to think we have a good relationship. We don't really get into arguments. There's too much of an age difference, I think. Since I'm 8 years older than her, we're not really fighting over the same things. And my mother, my father has always been good at dividing their attention for both of us, and so I think we're on good terms. But it would be pretty funny if, I ate one of her snacks, and so she's in her room with a cauldron, throwing little trinkets and spices and herbs in, holding a crystal to her forehead. May my brother experience relentless diarrhea after eating my granola bar. Hail Hecate. Hello, user 773. Now, Gaia, you ask a complimentary question, but I'm just going to check to see if Feline's question came through yet, since I said I'd look out for it. I don't see it yet. Let me double check. Not yet. Gaia, your complimentary question was, why is the human experience important? Feline's question did come through. I will answer your question, Gaia, but I told Feline I would answer it. Why are you so scared to lose your mom, as she was Wella confident. You don't know how to handle it. I don't know if I'm familiar with what a Wella confident is. Maybe there was a spelling mistake. But I understand the first part of your question, that you are so scared to lose your mom. That makes sense. Mothers are so precious. She was a friend. Oh, yeah. Yeah, mothers are good friends. They can be, absolutely. Well, that just goes to show how beautiful and precious of a relationship it is. You can't skip grieving your parents. I don't think there's anyone in the world that isn't going to grieve at the death of someone they love. It's just the nature of love. Some people say it's attachment, but even then, I feel like you could be a liberated being, but still have had love that went unexpressed. Because our body is finite, our mind is finite, the time we have with them is finite, and the love we have for them is infinite. And we just can't fit in everything that we can do with them. And that's okay. There are many people who have gone through their parents passing away, and they've learned to find them in their heart. They've learned to see them in the food that they make, in themselves, in your children, in your sisters and other family members. We learn to find our loved ones in other places. In a bush. I remember my mother went for a walk one day, and she took like 20-30 minutes to get back, and me and my father was like, where were you? You said you were going on a quick walk. She said, I was. I just went down the street and back. Well, what took so long? Well, I walked by this bush, and there was my mother. See, my mother was adopted, and her adopting mother is still alive, but her birth mother died. And she said, for some reason in that rose bush, there was my mother. And I had a conversation with her, and I cried, and I felt the love, and when it was time to go walk home, I walked home, and I was just with my mother. It was the weirdest thing. And I love that story. It really speaks to me, because if you are really in tune, you can find bits and pieces of the people and places and things that you love everywhere you go. This was when I was a child. This was like 20 years ago. Her mother passed away, so lots of time to process change. I imagine it's very difficult, and all I can do is imagine, since I still have my mother in my life, and I love her dearly, and I will probably be devastated too. And I don't think there's really anything I can do. I'm just going to be devastated for a while, and it'll be an expression of the love that we shared. Now, while I still have time with her, I can make the most out of it. I can do everything I want to do with her. Of course, there will always be something more that I wish I could have done, but I can do as much as I can. Chloe, you share that sometimes you have dreams about your grandfather. Me too. My grandfather was probably the closest person in my life that I've had the experience of passing away. And I'm sure as I get older, I'll have more experiences of close loved ones passing away. But yeah, with my grandfather, I experience him in my dreams a lot as well. You still hear his voice. That's beautiful. Bree, you share that your social battery has been really low lately, and you feel guilty for not responding to texts and calls. That's okay. That's very understandable. You're allowed to prioritize yourself. If you literally do not have enough energy to give to others, then what can you do besides work on recollecting that energy? Now you can be honest with them too. If you have the energy to send out a text that says, hey, I'm having some me time right now. I am sorry if you need me right now, but my emotions have really been intense and I need to process them. That I've had a lot of things on my plate right now, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you have that kind of relationship, and what a beautiful relationship that will be when you have that honesty and transparency that, I want to be your friend, I want to fulfill the role I am for you, but in order to do that, I need to take time for myself. And any good friend will understand that. Chloe, you share, you don't think you can sleep? I believe you can. It might take a little while, but there's no timeline. Thank you, dear Bree, for your tiny. Yippee! Sue, you share that your dad's initials were B-A-T. Now when you see a bat in the sky, you say, "Hi, Dad." You're so lovely. Hello, Gloria. You were wondering, do I think I'd want to have children of my own one day? Well, I'm so young that I've got plenty of time to decide that. And perhaps one day my paternal instincts will wash over me, and I'll have no escape. I think that's a very beautiful possibility, but I'm open to other possibilities too. I don't think everyone has to have a child. I think that we can bring life into this world in other ways. And that interests me, but I'm in no position to make a lifelong decision right now. Thank you, dear Kayla, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Alan, thank you for your heart me on rose. Judah, you share that you don't want to disrespect my beliefs, but you're curious if I know Jesus. I don't think there's anywhere in this world that hasn't heard of Jesus. Maybe some uncontacted indigenous community somewhere. Even then, people try. Do I know Jesus personally? Was I there at his bar mitzvah? And not in this lifetime, at least. I have a lot of love for the Christ and the divinity that he was and is. And I try to have that same kind of reverence for all the world's religions simultaneously. That really opens my heart to see the truth and beauty in everyone. Viraj, you ask, is it pronounced yam or yum? Whatever you want. I don't think English really has the same system that other languages do to differentiate between long or short syllables. It comes from my name, Liam, And if you literally just take off the L sound at the start, it is yum, lium, yum, yum, yum. But no one really calls me yum. You could say yam, but it doesn't really matter to me. The pronunciation of my name, let alone what name you have for me, is not not at the top of my priorities. Don't worry. Thank you, Carlos, for your heartmeet. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. So you shared that you were 40 when you had your daughter, and that was the right time for you all. For you both. Well, I'm sure that your daughter is very much meant to be here. I think about that often. I think one of the easiest methods of proving that all is meant to be is ask, is the child that has come from this situation meant to be? And without a doubt, the answer is yes. Right? My parents are separating. But she said she could have left a lot sooner in my life. However, my sister would never have been born, since she's younger than me, if she did. And when I think about it like that, it's like, wow. Yeah, my sister. I love her dearly. She is absolutely meant to be here. So there's no doubt in my mind that all the events that took place in order for my sister to have been born is meant to be also. Thank you, John Simon, for your heartmeet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sebas, you're wondering, can I remind you what language that is? You haven't been here in a while. It is the mother tongue of so many languages, the most ancient of all, that is also one that is continued to be spoken for thousands of years. It is Sanskrit. Brandon, you're wondering, what is time to me? Time is a measure of change relative to some other change. But all change occurs in this moment because we cannot change the past. And right now we cannot change the future. But we can change our behavior now, in this moment, and see what kind of future it leads to. Thank you, John F., for your subscription too. You have been a treasured guest for quite some time now, so I'm sure you are quite familiar with the sticker set and everything. But I'm grateful to have this ability to connect with you. Thank you. And thank you, Sue, for your finger heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Carlos, you were wondering, do I recommend we all learn Sanskrit and why? You don't have to, but it can greatly accelerate your spiritual practice because Sanskrit contains the largest body of spiritual literature in the whole world. And it is the most precise language in terms of very subtle philosophical and spiritual concepts and ideas. A simple proof of that is so many subtle concepts in spirituality that we talk about in English we don't have words for. So we use Sanskrit words, often without even knowing. Here's a list of spiritual words that are Sanskrit that we use, which you might not even know. Yoga, mantra, guru, chakra, kundalini, Buddha. Yeah, that's a good list of them. I'm sure there's many more if I really thought about it. Karma, that's probably the biggest of all Sanskrit words in our Western spiritual culture. Karma. But they all have deep esoteric. Om, yes, that's a classic one. Many mantras are in Sanskrit, like Om, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Namah Shivaya. Probably the ones you are familiar with. Very powerful language. Dharma is another one. Now, user 308, you're wondering, what do I recommend to learn Sanskrit? And that's another one. Yes. Su, Metta. Metta is Sanskrit for loving compassion, I believe. Radhe or Radhe, that's Sanskrit as well. Reiki, is that Sanskrit? I don't think so. No. Sanskrit doesn't have an E and an I next to each other. That, through Sandhi, would probably become Raiki, according to the rules of Sanskrit grammar. But it might come from a Sanskrit word etymologically. But it's a good question. So what do I recommend to learn Sanskrit? You could spend a long time just studying the sounds, and I mean that. In fact, that's what I've been doing for the last few years. Is I've just been studying the sounds because they're so perfect. They're so structured. You know how the English alphabet is just a kind of random list of letters. We got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We got vowels and consonants and vowels, and some of the letters have multiple sounds, and some of the sounds have multiple letters. And the names for the letters often have nothing to do with what they sound like H. Where's a H sound in H? The English alphabet is pretty random, I would say. There's no structure to it. The Sanskrit alphabet is two-dimensional. The entirety of Sanskrit exists in a 5x8 grid, where there's a precise order of the columns and order of the rows and columns. And just by knowing the position of a sound in that table, it teaches you how to pronounce it. Because the rows tell you how far back in the mouth or how front to the lips it is pronounced. And the columns tell you the quality of the sound, how complex of a sound. So, for example, let's say you wanted to know the 10th letter of the English alphabet. You just have to memorize it. There's no other way. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J. And the alphabet. You just have to memorize it. There's no other way. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J. And I think my internet disconnected me for a second. I hope that my connection is back now. Anyway, if you wanted instead to learn, let's say, the sound in the third column, fifth row, well, the third row in the fifth column, well, third place of articulation from the back of the throat is, well, the throat, then the soft palate, and then the hard palate. Okay, so all sounds in the third row of Sanskrit have a sound that is produced at the hard palate, and that's formed by curling your tongue back and touching it. Now the first column has everything to do with, the first four columns have to do with the plosives, whether they're voiced or unvoiced. Ta ta da da. And then the fifth column is the nasalization column. So you just nasalize a retroflex, a hard palate sound, and there you go. Just by knowing the position of a sound in the Sanskrit alphabet that teaches you how to pronounce it. That sounds like na, na, na. It's not actually the N sound in English because that's a dental nasal. Na. We don't have an equivalent in English, but in Sanskrit it sounds like na, na. So that's how just learning how the structure of the language, how it's created, because it's a language that's created through divine inspiration, through a precise order. You can learn how to pronounce it. And if you go really deep into studying the words of Sanskrit, even the sounds give you the meaning themselves, because each sound is a metaphor. Every time we produce a sound, we bring two organs of speech together. And depending on how we bring two things together, it represents a different kind of relationship. For example, the ga in yoga is a guttural consonant, but it's specifically a voiced guttural consonant because it's a soft impact between the base of your tongue and your guttur, part of your throat. If it were a K, then that would refer to something violent. Yoga would be something which is very forceful. But because yoga is supposed to be gentle, the G, the consonant, is voiced, and thus there are no hard plosives in that word. And we can go deeper into the sounds of the word yoga and how all the sounds come together to represent the word. But isn't that wonderful? That in English, if you just learned the spelling of a word or how to pronounce it, and that's another thing that's different. Not always is the spelling the same as how you pronounce it, which is ridiculous, because that's the whole point of spelling. But in Sanskrit, it's spelled the same way as it's pronounced. No exceptions. But my point is, in Sanskrit, just by knowing how a word is spelled, you can break open the meaning with enough introspection into the interplay between the metaphors of the sounds contained in that word. You can't do this in any other language. So these are some of the trademarks of this ancient language. Some people are wondering if I have contacts, and it's actually just because I'm sitting in front of a nice blue sky. So I think it's being reflected. But I get these eyes from my mother. And like my mother, if you look really closely, there's a sunflower around my pupil. Maybe I can go close enough for you to see. I don't know if you could see it. Sometimes it's not that vibrant. Thank you, Michael, for your heart me and rose a few minutes ago. And Despacito, thank you for your heart me. And thank you, Woo Woo, for your heart me too. Hariom Tatsat. Carlos, you ask, how do I say sunflower in Sanskrit? That's a good question. Well, I know how to say sun and I know how to say flower. So I could say Surya Bhalam. No, I just said sunfruit. Surya Pushpam. That's sunflower, I guess, literally. But I don't know what the specific name for a sunflower would be. I don't even know if sunflowers grew around the region where Sanskrit flourished. They might not have a word for it. I don't know where sunflowers are native from. Maybe one of you knows. Gloria, you're wondering what I think of astrology. Do I believe the planets' voyage influence our lives? If we let them, if we let anything in our lives influence us, then that means we're not fully conscious. So, if we wish to become fully conscious, then we must be the only influence in our actions. We cannot let the voyage of planets or the voyage of emotions or thoughts or other people in our life affect our purpose. We should be there to give and love, and with nothing stopping us getting in our way. They are native from Yam's backyard. Well, it's funny you say that, because a sunflower tree, or not a tree, a sunflower plant is joining. Not joining, my goodness. My command of the English language. Actually, we used to feed the squirrel peanuts and sunflower seeds. And it seems like that squirrel has left some seeds behind, because now there's a sunflower plant growing in one of our pots that my mother definitely did not plant. Feline, what do I think about shamanism, I assume, and sophrology? I'm unfamiliar with both of those things. Woo-woo, you share that sunflowers are native primarily to North and South America, shares Google. Well, then Sanskrit might not have a word for it unless it was introduced early on. However, I say that, but Sanskrit has a wonderful ability to create new words. It's a very living language. Unlike English. In English, we have to resort back to Latin or Greek to form new words. And it's usually just by making huge portmanteaus, basically, based on Latin root words. But Sanskrit can come up with nice short new words just based on the meanings of individual syllables. But that takes a real Sanskrit scholar to do that. It takes lots and lots of study. I can't do that. Now, Michael, it's very kind of you for sending a whole galaxy. You know, we started our live with a galaxy today. Maybe it's a good time to end our live with another one. But thank you, Michael. It's very generous, as always. Hari Om Tat Sat. Gloria, you are wondering what my favorite movie or TV show is. This one. The one that is occurring to me. Life is like a movie, isn't it? Right now I'm waiting for the next season of The Chosen. The life of Jesus from the eyes of the apostles. That's a pretty good show. I don't watch a lot of shows or movies myself, though. I watch a lot of YouTube. Probably way too much YouTube. Eden, you're wondering, what's the last thing I planted? Well, the only thing I've ever planted is the Tulasi plant. That's my pet project. Tulasi Devi. She is revered, venerated as a goddess in Hinduism. Something really beautiful about Hinduism is that anything can be a god or a goddess. And we're talking of the whole universe. Just like Jesus can come down and as a human represent the whole of the universe, so too plants can come down and these plants represent the whole of the universe. They are supreme divinity. Tulasi is the most prominent example of that in Hinduism. As a plant, she personifies the Divine Mother. She personifies the whole universe. So it's said, if you take care of a Tulasi plant, you are taking care of the whole universe. Thank you, Ruby, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Lilo Mogwai, you ask, can you eat the plant? Some people do. It's actually a kind of basil. It's related to the basil family. So some people put it in their sandwiches just like any other kind of basil. But if you're taking care of her for ritualistic purposes, then you probably don't want to be eating her. Out of respect. Thank you, Savannah, for your finger heart. Radhe, Radhe. And Hilaria, thank you for your garland headpiece. Hare Krishna. Kat, you ask, why don't I wear a Tulasi bead necklace? For two reasons. The first is that I used to. It would be my mala. But according to the Upanishads, you graduate from your physical mala once you take on breath as your mala, which means that each inhale, each exhale becomes a bead on an infinite mala, and there you do your japa, the chanting. So mentally I chant with every breath. And this happened naturally for me. I didn't even realize that it was something prescribed in Vedas, that you eventually move on. And then I thought I was really clever for using my breath as a mala. And then I read in scripture that no, it's a natural evolution. So my breath is my mala. Right now I keep my mala around the feet of Sri Krishna, my murti of Krishna. But the second reason is because I don't like wearing spiritual things, because for me spirituality is not part of my expressive identity. For me spirituality is an inner quest, not about showing off. I don't have any spiritual jewelry. I don't have any spiritual decorations of my life, because I hope that my words are spiritual more than ever. I don't feel the need to make my body into something expressive of something that my heart can do through my actions, my thoughts, and my words. Hope that makes sense. Did I thank you, Hilaria? Hilary Abel, for the garland headpiece. My gratitude remains regardless. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Savannah, you Sharon, you're over there with your tattoos. Oh, don't worry, I don't mean to call anyone out. What I do in my practice is not necessarily exemplary of what I think other people should do. Tattoos can be beautiful. They are beautiful. But most importantly, the reminders for what we tattoo on our hearts. Reminders of good memories. Reminders of the love we have had and shared. Alright, I did want to start wrapping up this live stream, but I had a question of the day for you all before I go. My question of the day today is, how do you grieve? How do we grieve? And no, I don't have any tattoos, Marcia. I try to, instead of making impressions on my skin which may fade in time, I make impressions on my heart and mind to last all of time. Thank you, Kat, for your pair of roses. Alright, how do we grieve? Hybrigen, you share by crying every day, just about. That is an effective means. Not well, shares Mermander. That's okay. We are learning. Grieving is a messy process. That's for sure. Woo woo, you share that you move on and forget. Aurora, you share, let out the lost love that you can't express anymore. Meditation, shares Gaia. Church of Yoke, you share silence and time. Then song and dance. That's beautiful. I love your implied correlation between silence, song, time, and dance. I guess you could say silence and stillness, song and dance. Thank you, Kat, for your pair of roses too, and your paper crane. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your finger heart. Jai Sita Ram. Crossfires, you share the first is anger. You believe there are 8 steps in grieving. Yes, many people have created models of grief which can be helpful. Chris, you share that luckily you haven't had to yet. I find that hard to believe. Maybe you are referring to grief in a really big way, but we grieve every day at the loss of small things too. And Kat, you share that you grieve with writing and sharing with another. I like that. That's very helpful and healthy. Savannah, you share that you personally draw it out, literally. You draw it out, or you draw it out. Doug, you share you grieve by seeking God's strength and messages and signs from God. Feline, you would like another synonym of grieve, since you do not get that word. Grieving is where we are very sad because something we love has been lost. Like if someone dies, or there's a breakup, or any time where we feel like we're separated from a piece of ourselves, and we grieve over the loss of that separation. I hope that makes sense. Sky Guardian, you share that you grieve by saying Swaha. I like that. Thank you, Peter Schaefer, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Mermander, would I be willing to say a prayer for your catfish? He needs surgery and you've been feeling guilty for not being able to afford it or be able to drive him that far. Absolutely. It's the least I could do. I remember giving prayers to fish before. Let's take a moment to send our prayers to Fish the cat. Oh, Fish the cat. though you might not be able to catch many fishies, given the fact that your owner does not let you hunt in the wild. Yet, if not fishes, you catch so many wonderful memories with your cute toe beans and your tiny claws, with your wonderful owner Mermander. May you catch many more memories, and may they all float around in each other's minds like little fishies of thought, swimming in the ocean of life. Much love to you, Fish the Cat. My best wishes and prayers to you. Amen. And thank you, Tattvas, for your quintet of roses. Radhe or Radhe. Now, I'm going to close our exploration of this question of the day with what Jai said. By taking time out. My chat is scrolling against my will. By taking time out for a moment to remember once again. I have to scroll up again. By remembering once again of how blessed we all are. Yes, I like that. And thank you, Doug, for your octet of roses. Hare Krishna. Oh, it's a quite alright, Mermander. Fish the Cat is certainly more important than our meanderings. Though the question of grief is also important, lest we have to grieve for your wonderful fish, the cat. Now I'd like to close this Sangha with a short reading. We are reading a section of this book that Usha Bai sent to us all the way from Serbia. It's a book written by her Gurudev, who goes by many names, but on the cover of this book is titled as Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda. Let's see if I know all the Sanskrit terms in this username. My goodness. I don't think he's that modern, but he's pretty modern. Paramahansa. Param means great, Hans means swan, great swan. It's said that a Hansa is a title in Hinduism. We call someone a swan when they're able to fly above the ocean of Maya, of material existence, but also be untouched by its water, or float in it without a drop getting under its skin. A Paramahansa is just a great swan, someone who's so free and beyond this Maya. Swami means husband of the Divine Mother. Maha means great. Ishvara means Lord. Ananda means bliss. So Maheshwarananda means the bliss of the great Lord, or the great bliss of the Lord. So altogether, Usha Bai's Guru's name here means Great Swan, husband of the Divine Mother, bliss of the great Lord. That's fun. Anyway, let's get into his words. What a name. It's like, it's similar to what indigenous people's names mean often, I think. Now we're starting on a page with a beautiful Om sign. Om represents the entirety of the universe and its creation, preservation, destruction, and the impersonal reality beyond all three. This section is called Tattvas and Gunas, the origin of the universe. In the beginning was Shunyakasha. Shunya means zero or emptiness. Akasha means space. It's like the void. Shunyakasha is more than nothingness. It is an immense potency of dormant energy in which everything exists in a latent state of potentiality. Everything conceivable can be brought into existence, just like text written or pictures drawn on an empty sheet of paper. As creation began, the divine, all-encompassing consciousness took the form of the first and original vibrating manifestation as the sound Om. Just like light, sound is vibration, energy. Light and sound are the forms that the Divine Self takes in the universe. Om is the reflection of the absolute reality. Om is the Adi Anadi, that without beginning or end. In the Vedas, the oldest and most well-known holy revelations, it is said, Nadra Rupa Para Brahma. The form of the Supreme is sound. The vibration of Om symbolizes the manifestation of God in form. The silence between two Om sounds reveals the formless, the divine principle. Om embraces all that exists, past, present, and future, all spheres of the cosmos, the world and its underlying reality, mind and matter, cause and effect, the path and the goal. The mantra, Om, is the name of God, the vibration of the Supreme, the word, the all-encompassing mantra. Mantra literally means the holy syllable or the holy word, just like in John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was the Word. What was that word? Om, which later became Amen in the Christian tradition. The essence of all wisdom has its roots in this sound, in the triad, Ah, U, The divine energy, Shakti, is united in its three elementary aspects as Brahma Shakti, the creative power that manifests the universe, Vishnu Shakti, the preserving power that sustains the cosmos, and the Shiva Shakti, the liberating power that brings about transformation and renewal. These three aspects exist in the same way in each of us. The creative, constructive power in us is Brahma. The effort to preserve, to nurture, and to protect is the Vishnu aspect of our being. And the energy to detach, to liberate, and to renew stems from our Shiva quality. At the beginning of creation, as the sound of Om divided the unity of Shunyakasha, that emptiness, two powers emerged from it. Purusha, original consciousness, and Prakriti, primordial nature. Prakriti is the eternal stream of divine energy, and Purusha is the divine self, the unchanging, omnipresent, and omniscient witness of all events and mutations of Prakriti. To ensure that nature, Prakriti, would always maintain a connection to the divine, Purusha, the force of attraction developed as an aspect of Prakriti. This book is so delicious, full of such wonderful truths. Well, I hope that whet your appetite. Let's keep it nice and short for now. We can just consider Om and its two manifestations as Purusha and Prakriti as the lesson for tonight. I'll let you meditate on these Sanskrit words. Thank you for listening. Thank you, dear Usha Bai, for sending this lovely book in for us to read. Om Namah Shivaya. And thank you, native girl, who sent a heart me and a quintet of roses while we were reading. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Wanderer, you just saw my new video and it's actually really funny. Oh, I'm glad you like it. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your disco love. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, dear Savannah, for your team bracelet. Thank you, Usha Ji, for your rose. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Jenny, thank you for your pair of roses. Hare Krishna. Feline, you have got Om as a tattoo. That's beautiful. I love that. Alright. I don't know what time it is for all of you, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. We are bringing this live stream to a close now. Thank you, Joanna, for your heart me, 10 roses and a community fest. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Cornbread. And Feline, thank you for your friendship necklace and your pair of roses. Jai Sitaram. Okay. This live will be uploaded to my Yamsox Live YouTube channel. Hello to everyone in the future watching. Maybe it's some of you in their relative past. So some of you are in the future watching this right now. You gotta say hello to your future self. They're saying hi to you. I love leaving notes for my future self and leaving notes for my past self. All of the readings in this live will be clipped and they'll be put on the same YouTube channel in a designated playlist. If you want a little live improv audiobook experience. You're funny, Eden. Hi, Eden. Don't forget the cookies. Remember that. I'm happy you liked my new poist. Oh my goodness. What kind of accent is this? My new poist? Well, I think it's a little Australian. Although I doubt that they say boist. I'm happy you liked it, Trisha. Are we chanting tonight? Oh, I forgot about that. I think we'll leave it tonight. But I will do a chanting as I offer this live stream to Sri Radha Krishna. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyama, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. Hello, Angel Appleseed. Nice to see you again. Hello and goodbye. Good night, stars. Good night, moon. Good night, earth. Good night, you. Good night, Magdalene. Thank you for sharing your best wishes, Chris. Thank you, everyone. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment. Namaste.